Hello guys, and welcome back, or welcome here if you are new. My name is Amy. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about books I read in May for the Christian Fiction Readathon. Y'all, this is like my fourth attempt because I'm telling you, these wrap-up videos, they are a struggle for me because I literally want to talk about the whole book and you just can't do that. I mean, there's only so many minutes that I can record and there's only so many thoughts to share, and I know that some of you would like this book for some reasons and some of you would like it for other reasons, but it's just too much to name like every single thing. So I guess what I'll try to do is just maybe give you a quick overview of the story and then just pull out some pieces that I liked. I don't know. I'm gonna try to go with that, and if you have any more questions you can always feel free to ask me. Alright, so let's go ahead and get on into it. What I'm going to do is read the prompt and I'll show you the book that I read for it. So the first prompt was flowers on a cover. So for that, I chose A Bookshop by the Sea, and you have the cute little flower pot over here. You guys, this book is so good. Basically, it has a whole story about like a second chance romance. Typically, those may not be my favorite, but because the two main characters parted ways after high school, they were still like really young and they both had big things happen and they just did not properly communicate like what they were feeling, but they were young. I mean, they were kids. And so I'm glad in this scenario that they had a second chance at love, and it was so good. I enjoyed this book from start to finish. I read it very quickly, and you know, for me, mostly Denise Hunter is always going to be just like a go-to author, like one who I know that when I read it is probably going to be like a 4 or 5 star. Just because her writing, I just enjoy it. It's just so easy to read. It's so easy to really get connected with her stories. I have DNF'd a couple of her books before, but that's only just because maybe I didn't like a certain character or something, maybe like a story around a character, but it wasn't because I didn't like the writing or anything like that. It's just, you know, sometimes you can connect with some characters and sometimes you can't. So basically this book has so many things that I personally love to read about. The location, it's on this island, Piper's Cove, and so that right there I love. I love stories about small beach towns. Also, it includes books. So Sophie, she's the main character, she's recently purchased like a historic building downtown Piper's Cove, and she's going to turn it into her very own bookstore with an apartment upstairs. And throughout the book you get to see the process of her putting all of that together, and I just love that. I love to hear how the bookstore came together and everything, and then how her apartment upstairs came together. It was just such a good book. I loved it. Also in this book, Denise Hunter writes in other characters from Lake Season, and so Nathaniel Quinn and then his wife. And you know, I don't want to say too much just for those of you who haven't read it. That book is good too, but it was really cool to hear about those characters because, and it makes sense because in Lake Season, Nathaniel is an author, and so he has a new book and she's featuring it in her store. And so I just thought that was so fun. Also, there was a hurricane, so there was a storm, and there was a situation where Sophie and her love interest Aiden were kind of trapped together for several amount of days. And yes, so this book, it was very interesting. There was a lot of tiptoeing around emotions like towards the beginning, but because they are older now, I appreciated that it didn't take them too long to kind of hash things out. More so on her side, she really had a wall up against Aiden, but it started to fall. I mean, slowly, but finally the wall got broken down. And of course, there are going to be other bumps in the road. Also with her family, there were some issues there with like her siblings and her dad just kind of taking advantage of her. Sometimes it is okay to say no. Like, we have to set personal boundaries because even if people don't mean to, they will take advantage of you, and you just have to be careful. And so I'm glad that, you know, that was kind of highlighted in there because I think that's a piece of advice that everyone can learn from. Also, this book did have good faith content. You know, I think Denise Hunter has a good way of weaving it in. Even if it is subtle, it's still there, and you can just like feel the presence like throughout the whole story. And so that I appreciated as well. All right, let's move on to the next prompt. With new blooms comes new authors. Read a new to you author. So for this book, I read Meet Me in the Margins, and you guys, this book, it was good. I will tell you a couple things. Number one, This is published by Thomas Nielsen, and I recently learned this, that they are no longer just specifically Christian fiction as far as publishing Christian fiction. And so I went into this thinking this is a Christian fiction book, and I think under Amazon and maybe some other things it is listed as Christian fiction, but it's more like clean fiction. There's no Christian content whatsoever. So in the beginning I struggled with this book. It took me some time to get going, but I'm glad that I decided to see it through, because by the time it got to the end, I was loving it. And to be honest, I shed a little tear, just a little tear. You know, honestly, it doesn't take me much to get me teared up, just because, I don't know, I'm kind of like a sensitive person and sensitive to certain situations, but overall I did enjoy this book. So you have Savannah, she's the main character, and really it's only her point of view, which, not really my favorite. It's also in first person, just FYI. So basically, she is a acquisitions assistant editor for a publishing house in Nashville, Tennessee. And that was another reason why I kept reading, because I love the location. I just love Tennessee so much. But she herself, even though she is an editor, she's a writer as well. She's been working on a manuscript for several years since college. Well, she came across an editor, like a top tier editor. She finally sends it in, and the editor says that she's sorry, but it's just not going to work. Anyways, so she doesn't give up. She keeps working on it, but in the meantime, stuff happens in between. But just to get to the meat of the story, she ends up kind of putting her book upstairs, like in this room, in the ARC room, where she thinks no one ever goes. Just to hide it, there was a situation where her story she had it in her hand, that it kind of like went everywhere, and her new boss, Will, he picked it up and saw it, and it was just like a whole thing. But anyways, and so she goes up there, she hides the book. When she goes back to check on it, she realizes that someone has made notes in the margins. And so basically, you kind of get that throughout the book. So that was fun to read about. Savannah had a sassy side, which was really fun. Also, her love interest is Will, and he is the son of like the owner. And so he has come into this new publishing house, and he wants to revamp some things, and they start to form like a friendship / relationship. In the beginning, she thinks maybe he's the one that's writing in the margins, but then she second guesses herself. All along, like, the reader knows, or at least I knew who it was, and I was like, how can you not know like who this is? Her and Will had some cute interactions at several different places. She also has a fun best friend who wants to become a country singer. And so overall, there was just a lot of fun things. Again, there was some family drama in here. Her family just treats her like the black sheep for some reason. I don't know why. And then there's like a whole another side story. Her ex-boyfriend, who's engaged to her sister, which that's like a no-no. You just don't do that, like, in my opinion. Former boyfriends, all of that is like off limits to, I would think, especially your sister, but really anyone like in your family. That would just be so weird. Now, I know there's exceptions to like every rule, and if God is involved, then yes. But all in all, this ended really well, and it wrapped up so nicely. There was a little twist in there that was fun to read about, but in the epilogue was just so good. I can appreciate a good epilogue. So yes, overall, this is a good book. I don't always tell you guys my ratings on these videos, because sometimes it's just, I don't know. If I like a book, I like it. Sometimes I don't necessarily need to put a number on it. So that's why you may not hear me always give like a star rating. All right, prompt number 3. April showers bring May murders. Read a mystery or a thriller. So for that, I read Colleen Coble's Beneath Copper Falls, and you guys, this is my favorite Colleen Coble book so far. I've read several books from her, and they kind of, I don't know, they were okay. But this one I really liked, and it was hard to put down because I just had to know like what was going to happen next. There was just a lot of action. Things are happening. People are getting hurt. Several people are like murdered. Normally I don't like reading about that, but this was done tastefully. It wasn't too scary, and yeah, it kind of like hooked you in. So you have Dana, and she has a story where she was engaged to someone for like a year, and he started showing signs of control and anger, and then he got physical. And so she broke off that relationship, and she ended up moving back home to Rock Harbor, and she ended up living with her brother. She is also a 911 dispatcher. And so she has some friends like in the town, and so they reconnect. And then she also meets Boone, and he is her love interest. I really liked him. He was a really good guy. He was a protector. And I don't know, I just really liked Boone. I liked Dana and Boone together. And yeah, some things were happening. Like, I don't want to say too much just because it is like a mystery, so I don't want to say too much. Dana and Boone eventually start like getting closer. They form a friendship, and then they start working together to try to piece together a case. Things are happening, and yeah, there's just a lot going on in this book. It's actually done in winter. You know, I thought because the cover was like blue and you see like a waterfall, it was going to be like a summery type book, but no, it's definitely set in like the winter months. So that was like another element to everything. But this book was exciting and thrilling. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, it wasn't too scary. And I would recommend it if you like to read like those types of books, like mystery, suspense type books. I think you would like this one. It's really good. Prompt number 4, springtime cleaning. Read a book that has been on your TBR the longest, or at least 6 months. So for that prompt, I ended up using the same book, Beneath Copper Falls. I've had this book for over a year, and I just had never read it. And now I'm like, why didn't I read this sooner? This, you guys, this book is in a series, but this is like the last book in the series. And so I'm just probably just gonna read this one, but I do want to try some of her newer books as well. And then prompt number 5, Spring Fever. Read a romance book or a book that has a minor romantic plot. Well, honestly, you guys, any of these books would work for that. They all have some element of romance in them, but I think I will go ahead and choose A Bookshop by the Sea because I think this had the best romance of all of them, because you kind of get both of their point of views, and so that I really like. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick Bookshop by the Sea. So that is going to complete all of the prompts. So I'm happy that I was able to get that done. Now, some of you may be thinking, wow, only 3 books in 1 month, Amy? Like, what's up with that? We all are in different phases of life, and you know what? I'm quite happy that I was able to read 3 books this month, just with everything I have going on in my life. Let me just say this, there is faith content in this book. Sometimes when I'm doing these wrap-ups, I don't mention the faith content, and that is because, like, I know that I'm reading Christian fiction. And so it's like a given to me that there's going to be the faith element in there. And so that's why I don't ever speak of it, because I know that I'm reading a Christian book. But not all the books in Christian fiction are the same, and not all of them have the same level of faith content, and some maybe have none. And so I need to remember to start adding that to these wrap-ups, letting you guys know which books really had the good faith content versus not. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope that maybe I gave you guys some recommendations. If you read these and you enjoyed it, I would love to know down below. Alright guys, well, I hope everyone is doing well, and until next time, take care. Okay, I've had to redo this. Hi guys. Hello guys, welcome back, or welcome here if you are new. My name is Amy. I love you, baby. I heard you. So basically, the publishing house that she works at, they do not publish, wait, let me see, hold on.